Hi YouTube, this is your buddy over here, Mr. Pool. And I was going to read a letter that I got from someone. It's a private message, but I think I should read it out loud because I really liked it. It was really nicely written, and I think he's been. This is somebody that actually was. It really makes me feel like, wow, people are actually listening to my videos, and they're. I mean, I'm trying to get. Maybe it's something that human beings have been have been wondering about for a long time. There's been thousands of years where, in the times of the Greeks and the Romans and other philosophers, have been thinking long and hard about the problem of consciousness, whether or not it's what happens to consciousness and what is consciousness. And I'm just going to read this here. It's on my computer. I have a Chromebook that I use. I'll read you the letter. Subjective consciousness and being immortal. Hello, Mr. Poole. First of all, I'm very happy to find someone who somewhat shares this idea of subjective consciousness. I already hold the belief for a long time that as a physical object, the mind of a person and everything around it and within it underlies physical boundaries. As such, things like souls or whatever don't exist. From a simplistic point of view, like you said, imagining the human as a machine that produces subjective consciousness is an unavoidable matter. Seems the most logical explanation for what consciousness simply is. Furthermore, I always sort of understood that with dying, the self-perception vanishes, and with it, the perception of time. Reemergence seems unavoidable. I have to say that I hold from here on a different idea, that it isn't necessary at all for an organism to form exactly like the you are now. Strictly speaking, I think that emergence can happen in any subject that is capable of self-awareness, human or not. But for lack of better examples, let's stick with human. I think that re-emergence without memories and so forth is bound to happen after death of a host, so to speak, and a new host can be vastly different from the one before. Subjective perception is the only thing important that is being transferred, so to speak. This is as far as what I think goes. As with physics progressing in a way that, as you said, implies an infinite amount of iterations of universes popping in and out of existence, this point becomes moot. As with infinite time, an exact copy of you and me will emerge, and there is nothing we can do about it. Now, I was somewhat aware of this re-emergence for quite some time and never put much thought into it. Until today, I realized that this process makes the subjective viewpoint of existing immortal, literally making it impossible to stop existing at some point. Authors, artists, even philosophers joked about that concept, but this now became a real threat to me. At least it feels like it. I'm not particularly death-wished or anything. I just try to view life as a ride, which finally will have an end. How good or bad it will be in the end doesn't matter. With this concept, existing itself suddenly became like a jail. Even if memories are not kept, which I'm sure they aren't, and you become a different person entirely, bound by experience and your biological construct of DNA, one could say, existing will continue regardless of what anyone wants. Eternal life, so many people wish for in its cruelest form, starting always from scratch and without being aware of it. As I'm writing this, I'm still in shock of this revelation and tried to find other sources of people who I thought would, of course, already thought about that topic, like many ancient philosophers, Lucretius for one, I think. and some of the Greeks, Socrates, Plato. From my point of view, even a limited universe is enough for this infinity of existence to be there, as time is only a linear progression from our point of view, but is a dimension in some sense like other dimensions, having a back and forth. So I think re-emerging as a person in the past is also equally possible. What I'm trying to say is I don't see a way out of this mess. If you could point me to some literature that deals with the topic of subjective consciousness, I'd be glad to find out more about it, as I have this feeling that it will bother me far more from now on, whether I like it or not. Anyway, I don't mind if you are not able to answer. I just felt like sharing some thoughts on this matter with one of the few apparently who also come to a similar conclusion. And then he just gives a message about what his status is. So that's pretty much the message. And thank you for stopping by.